If you fell into Jupiter, you would still be falling 12 hours later. Still alive, if your suit held. Still conscious. Still dropping through clouds with no bottom into a darkness that has never once, in 4.5 billion years, been touched by light. Today, you are going to fall into every planet in the solar system. All 8 of them. One by one. And here is the honest truth before we begin: every single one of these worlds will kill you. The only question is how, and how much you get to see before it happens. The rules of the journey are simple. You get a suit, the best one physics allows. It buys you minutes where you should get seconds, and seconds where you should get nothing at all. Each time a world takes you, we pull you back, and we move on to the next one. Along the way, you will meet a world where the air itself weighs as much as the ocean. You will meet a place where it rains gemstones. And one of these planets will kill you before you ever see its clouds, and it is not the one you think. We will get to all of it. Every promise will be paid. But the fall starts where everything in this solar system starts. Close to the fire. Mercury. The smallest planet. The closest to the Sun. From your position, falling feet first out of the black, it looks like the Moon's older, angrier brother, a fossil of grey rock, beaten by 4 billion years of impacts that nothing ever healed. You notice the Sun first. It is wrong here. 3 times wider in the sky than it is from Earth, and 11 times brighter. Your visor darkens automatically, and it is still too much. And then you notice the silence of the fall itself. No wind. No whistling. No resistance. Mercury has no air. None at all. There is nothing to slow you down, nothing to burn you up, and nothing to carry sound. You are falling through a perfect vacuum toward a dead world, in absolute silence, under a black sky at midday. The ground below you is running a fever of 430 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to melt lead. Hot enough to melt zinc. If you landed barehanded, the rock itself would cook you like a skillet left on the fire for 100 years. And here is Mercury's first insanity: 2 steps into a shadow. That same ground is 180 degrees below zero. This is a world with no in-between. The scorched side and the frozen side sit centimeters apart, because there is no air to carry the heat from one to the other. You land softly. Gravity here is barely a third of Earth's, the fall of a dream, not a nightmare. Your boots kick up dust that leaps and settles instantly, with no air to float in. You are standing in a crater the size of a country. It is called Caloris Basin, the basin of heat, 1,500 kilometers across, carved by an impact so violent that it raised hills on the opposite side of the entire planet. If you stayed here, if your suit could hold, you would see something no other world in the solar system can show you. On Mercury, one single day, from one sunrise to the next, lasts 176 Earth days. The Sun crawls. It stops. In places, it appears to move backward, loop in the sky, and set where it rose. Stand in the wrong valley and you get a year of daylight followed by a burial of darkness. And in that darkness, Mercury hides its best secret. Walk north, toward the pole, to the craters whose floors have not seen sunlight in 2 billion years. Point a radar into those permanent shadows, and something impossible flashes back at you. Ice. Frozen water. Billions of tons of it, on the closest planet to the Sun. Comets delivered it, crash by crash, over billions of years, and the shadows kept it, 50 meters deep in places, at a steady 180 below zero while the planes a kilometer away run hot enough to melt metal. The most sun-blasted world we own is also, in its cellars, one of the iciest. Your suit's cooling system is screaming. It was built for minutes, and the minutes are gone. The sun is a white furnace nailed into a black sky, your shadow is sharp as a knife's edge, and the temperature in your boots is rising a degree every few seconds. Mercury does not crush you. It does not poison you. It simply roasts you, patiently, in total silence. We pull you out. Because the next world does not have Mercury's patience. The next world is the single most hostile place in the solar system, and from a distance, she is beautiful. Venus. The morning star. Named after the goddess of love. The brightest thing in Earth's night sky after the moon, sailors navigated by her, poets wrote to her, entire religions bowed to her. Every single spacecraft we ever landed on her surface died within 2 hours. Most died in minutes. You hit the cloud tops 50 kilometers up, and for a moment it is almost pleasant. Earth-like pressure. Survivable temperature. Golden light scattering through the haze. Hold this altitude for a second, because it is the strangest real estate in the solar system. Right here, 50 kilometers over hell, is the most Earth-like environment beyond Earth, and the air below you is so dense that a pair of strapped-on wings would actually carry you. Scientists have seriously proposed floating cities here. On Venus, the sky is the only habitable ground. It does not last. Then your suit's chemical sensors start shrieking. These are not water clouds. They are droplets of concentrated sulfuric acid, an ocean's worth of battery acid, hanging in the sky, and you are falling through it. Lightning tears through the murk around you. The clouds strobe orange and white. And as you sink, kilometer by kilometer, the air begins to thicken, not like air at all, but like something else. Like liquid. By 20 kilometers up, the atmosphere is so dense your fall is slowing without a parachute. By 10, you are no longer falling in any way your body understands. You are sinking. Drifting down through hot, syrup-thick carbon dioxide the way a coin sinks through honey. Your boots settle onto the surface of Venus almost gently. And every number on your display is a death sentence. Temperature, 462 degrees Celsius. Hotter than Mercury, hotter than the planet that sits next to the Sun, because this atmosphere is a blanket that has not let heat escape for a billion years. This is what a greenhouse effect looks like when it wins completely. Pressure, 92 times Earth's. The same crush you would feel 900 meters under the ocean. On your shoulders, on your chest, on every square centimeter of your suit, the weight of a small car, everywhere, all at once. You look up, and there is no Sunday. Just a dim, rusted orange ceiling of permanent overcast. Daylight on Venus is the color of an old photograph left in a fire. The horizon bends upward at the edges, the air is so dense it curves light itself, wrapping the ground up around you like the inside of a bowl. And in the distance, on the highlands, the mountains glitter. This is the detail nobody expects. The peaks of Venus are frosted, not with ice, but with metal. It is hot enough down here to vaporize heavy minerals, and on the cooler mountaintops they condense back out. On Venus, it snows metal on the mountains. A day here lasts longer than a year. The planet spins that slowly, and it spins backward. If you could see the sun through the ceiling, it would rise in the west. The Soviet landers that reached this ground were titanium spheres built like submarine hulls. The longest any of them lasted was 127 minutes. The photographs they sent back in those dying minutes are still the only pictures humanity has ever taken standing on the surface of Venus. Your suit will not do better. The seals are softening. The joints are creeping. The heat is not attacking you, it is simply everywhere, the way water is everywhere to a drowning man. We pull you out. And the sky ahead of you turns from orange to red. The next world is the one we keep promising to visit. The one with rovers, and postcards, and plans. It is also the world where your own blood becomes the enemy. Mars. You fall out of a butterscotch-colored sky toward a world of rust, and immediately something feels wrong about the fall itself. There is air here, but only the ghost of it. The atmosphere of Mars is 1% as thick as Earth's. Thin enough that a parachute barely bites. Thick enough to set a spacecraft on fire anyway. Engineers call the landing sequence 7 minutes of terror, and they are the best engineers alive. You punch through a cinnamon haze of dust, deploy everything you have, fire your thrusters, and hit the ground of the red planet hard, in a crater older than complex life on Earth. Stand still for a moment. Listen. There is wind here, real wind, the first you have felt since Earth, but it arrives as a whisper. The air is so thin that a Martian gale strong enough to blanket the planet in dust would barely push your hand. When the NASA InSight lander recorded the Martian wind, the sound it sent home was a low, hollow moan. The voice of a world that is almost silent. Do not let the weakness fool you. In 2018, a dust storm rose in one Martian valley, spread, and within weeks had swallowed the entire planet, pole to pole, a world erased from its own sky. Somewhere under that darkness sat a solar-powered rover named Opportunity, built to last 90 days, still working after 15 years. The storm starved it of light. Its final transmission, translated from the engineering data, amounted to a single sentence: "My battery is low, and it is getting dark." 8 months later, when the skies cleared, NASA sent more than 1,000 wake-up commands. Nothing ever answered. The sun above you is small, pale, and cold. High noon on Mars feels like the hour before dusk. The temperature right now, on a good summer day at the equator, is around 20 degrees Celsius at your ankles, and 30 below zero at your head. The air is too thin to blend warm and cold. You are standing in two climates at once. And here is the promise we made you. Take off the suit, just the glove, just for a second, and the water in your tissue starts to fizz. The pressure on Mars sits below a threshold called the Armstrong limit, where the boiling point of water drops to the temperature of the human body. Your blood does not need fire to boil on Mars. It only needs to be exposed. On the horizon, you cannot actually see its top, because it is over the curve of the world, stands Olympus Mons. A volcano 3 times the height of Everest, so wide that if you stood at its summit, its own slopes would stretch past the horizon in every direction. You could climb the tallest mountain in the solar system and never once see the mountain. And carved across the planet's face, a scar called Valles Marineris, a canyon system as long as the United States is wide, 4 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. Something tore this world open when it was young. Look up at dusk and you can watch this world's future arriving. Mars has 2 moons, and the larger one, Phobos, is falling. It orbits so low and so fast that it rises in the west and crosses the sky twice a day, dropping 2 meters closer every century. In 50 million years it will either smash into the surface or be shredded into a ring. Mars will briefly become the smallest ringed planet in the solar system, crowned by the wreckage of its own moon. Because that is the real story of Mars. Not what it is. What it was. You are standing in a dried-up riverbed. There are shorelines here, and deltas, and minerals that only form in standing water. 3.5 billion years ago, this crater may have held a lake, calm, sunlit, and possibly alive. Mars did not explode. It did not burn. It simply leaked. Too small to hold its magnetic shield, it let the solar wind strip its air away, molecule by molecule, until the oceans vaporized and the world rusted shut. Mars is not a dead planet. Mars is a planet that died. You watch the sun set before you go. On Mars, the sunset is blue, the dust scatters light backward compared to Earth. A blue dusk over a red world, at the grave of an ocean. Then you turn and look up and see what is next. It does not look like a destination. It looks like a verdict. Jupiter. Everything you have fallen into so far had a flaw. A place where the fall ends and the standing starts. Jupiter is about to teach you what the solar system is really made of, and it is not flaws. The first thing that attacks you is invisible. 1,000,000 kilometers out, long before the clouds, long before anything, you cross into Jupiter's radiation belts, and this is the payoff of our oldest promise, the planet that kills you before you see its clouds. Without shielding, the dose out here would end you in under an hour. The particles trapped in this magnetic cage move at nearly the speed of light, and the cage is bigger than the Sun. Auroras crown both poles below you are permanent, planet-sized, 1,000 times more powerful than anything Earth has ever displayed. Jupiter does not have weather in the Earth sense. Jupiter has regimes. You pass the royal family on the way down. Io, the innermost moon, slides beneath you, the most volcanically violent body in the solar system, its surface a boil of 400 active volcanoes, kneaded and squeezed by Jupiter's gravity like dough that never gets to rest. Then Europa, a billiard ball of ice, scribbled with cracks. Under that shell, sloshing in the dark, is a saltwater ocean holding twice as much liquid water as every sea on Earth combined. If life exists anywhere else in this solar system, the smart money says it is swimming down there right now, under the ice, warmed by the same tides that torture Io. The king keeps a possible second Earth in its pocket, and hardly anyone looks up. You survive the belts, barely, and begin the fall. 2.5 times Earth's gravity takes hold of you. The cloud deck rushes up, ammonia ice the color of cream and rust, in bands wider than continents, moving in opposite directions at hundreds of kilometers per hour. Off to the south churns the Great Red Spot. A single storm, wider than the entire Earth, that has been spinning since before the United States existed. Sailors' telescopes saw it in the 1600s. It was ancient then. Its winds would strip a city to bedrock, and it has never once stopped. You hit the clouds, and the sky closes over you like water over a stone. This is the moment from the beginning of our journey. The fall with no bottom. Let it actually happen to you now. 1 minute in, the light is failing. The pressure is climbing. Lightning bolts 1,000 times stronger than Earth's detonate somewhere below you, lighting the cloud layers from inside like paper lanterns. 10 minutes in, it is raining. It may be raining helium down here. Deeper still, physicists calculate that the pressure squeezes carbon into crystals, that in the deep layers of the giant planets, it rains diamonds. A second promise, paid in full. 1 hour in, the pressure has passed anything human engineering has ever survived. Your suit, the impossible one, is groaning in frequencies you feel in your teeth. Outside, the temperature is rising. The deep atmosphere of Jupiter is hotter than the surface of Venus, and getting hotter with every kilometer. 12 hours in, if anything of you still exists, you reach the thing that replaces the ground on worlds like this. The hydrogen around you, crushed beyond the point where gas and liquid mean anything, becomes something that should not exist, liquid metallic hydrogen. An ocean of shining metal soup, tens of thousands of kilometers deep, conducting electricity so fiercely that it generates the planet's monstrous magnetic field. At the center, the calculations say, the temperature reaches 35,000 degrees, 6 times hotter than the surface of the Sun. Jupiter never got quite big enough to ignite and become a star. But down in its heart, it never stopped trying. There is no wreckage of you to recover this time. Nothing solid ever reaches the center of Jupiter. You were not crushed against a world. You were dissolved into one. We restore you one more time, and turn you toward something gentler. The next giant is the one every child draws first. The one wearing rings. And the strangest fact about it fits in a bathtub. Saturn. You do not fall into this world first. First, you fall through its crown. The rings look solid from Earth, a smooth band of gold. Up close, they shatter into what they really are, billions of pieces of almost pure water ice, from dust grains to chunks the size of houses, each one orbiting on its own path, each one glittering like a chandelier in the weak sunlight. And here is their impossible secret: the rings stretch 280,000 kilometers across, but in places they are barely 10 meters thick. If Saturn's rings were a sheet of paper, that sheet would be a kilometer wide. You pass through the entire plane in a heartbeat. Below, the planet itself, softer than Jupiter, calmer, dressed in bands of butter and honey. Do not trust it. The winds here reach 1,800 kilometers per hour, 5 times faster than the worst tornado ever measured on Earth. On a world with almost nothing solid to slow them, storms simply never run out of road. And at the North Pole, something waits that still unsettles scientists: a storm in the shape of a perfect hexagon, wider than 2 Earths, holding its 6 sharp corners for decades. Nature is not supposed to draw geometry that clean. Saturn does it as a hobby. Saturn's court is stranger than Saturn. Titan, the largest moon, hides under an orange smog thicker than Earth's air, and beneath that haze it is raining. Not water, liquid methane, at 179 below zero, filling river deltas and true seas hundreds of kilometers across. Titan is the only world besides Earth with standing liquid on its surface and rain falling from its sky. The rain is just cold enough to burn. And tiny Enceladus, barely 500 kilometers wide, fires geysers of ocean water through cracks in its icy shell, 100 jets, blasting into space, feeding one of Saturn's own rings. A moon the size of Great Britain, actively leaking its hidden sea into orbit. Twice in one system, buried oceans, still liquid, still warm somewhere at the bottom. Keep that thought for the end of the journey. Here is the bathtub fact. Saturn is the least dense planet in the solar system, lighter, on average, than water. Build a bathtub big enough, and Saturn floats. You are falling into a world that would float in your bathtub, and it is going to kill you anyway. The fall goes the way Jupiter went: clouds, then crush, then metal rain, then nothing solid, ever. Gentler gravity. Same ending. The helium rain falling around you in the deep layers is real, droplets of liquid helium, sinking through hydrogen for thousands of kilometers, releasing the heat that makes Saturn glow warmer than the sun can explain. We pull you out while there is still a you to pull. And the sun behind you is now just the brightest star in a black sky. Out here, past the giants, there are 2 more worlds, twins, almost. Cold beyond language. One of them is lying on its side. Uranus. The first thing you notice is that the world is tipped over. Its axis lies at 98 degrees, it does not spin like a top, it rolls like a barrel. Something the size of Earth hit it, long ago, hard enough to knock a giant onto its back, and it never got up. Because of that, the poles here take turns facing the sun, for 42 years at a time. Winter on Uranus is a night that lasts for decades. You fall into the coldest atmosphere ever measured on a planet, 224 degrees below zero. Cold enough to freeze every gas your body has ever breathed. And as your suit sensors sample the haze, they report one more indignity: the clouds here carry hydrogen sulfide. The 7th planet smells like rotten eggs. Falling into Uranus is falling into a frozen, poisonous, 40-year-long night that stinks. Its twin is no joke at all. Neptune. The last true planet. The bluest thing in the solar system, a blue so deep and violent it looks painted. This far from the sun, the energy budget says the weather should be dead calm. Instead, Neptune owns the fastest winds ever recorded on any world, 2,100 kilometers per hour. Faster than the speed of sound. Faster than a fighter jet on full afterburner. Clouds of frozen methane rip past you faster than a rifle bullet leaves the muzzle. Nobody fully knows why. Exactly one machine has ever visited, Voyager 2, in 1989, gave humanity its only close look at this world, a few hours of photographs after a 12-year journey, and then flew on into the dark forever. In those few hours, it also photographed Neptune's great secret, Triton. A moon that orbits backward, the only large moon in the solar system that does. You cannot be born orbiting backward. Triton is a kidnapping victim, a captured dwarf world, dragged in from the outer dark, and it is slowly spiraling inward toward the day, a few billion years from now, when Neptune tears it apart and builds itself a ring brighter than Saturn's. Even out here, at the cold edge of everything, the violence never actually stopped. It just slowed down. Deep inside, the diamond rain falls harder here than anywhere, whole hailstorms of gemstones sinking toward a core the size of Earth. The treasure of the solar system is real. It is just buried under 40,000 kilometers of storm, in a place that kills everything that touches it. The fall through Neptune ends the way all giant falls end. And when we pull you back this time, there is nowhere left to go. Almost. One more stop. Not a planet anymore. The astronomers demoted it in 2006, but it would be rude to come this far and not say hello. Pluto. You actually land, the 8th touchdown of your journey, on a plane of frozen nitrogen shaped, by pure cosmic coincidence, like a giant heart. The ice under your boots is not water. Water ice, at 230 degrees below zero, is hard as granite here. On Pluto, water ice builds the mountains. The glacier that flow between them are made of frozen air. The sun hangs above the horizon, a brilliant point, a star among stars, still 300 times brighter than the full moon, casting hard little shadows on the ice. High noon on Pluto looks like the last minute of an Earth dusk. There is even a sky here, a faint, astonishing blue haze, hovering over a world 4.5 billion kilometers from the nearest warmth. Look back the way you came. Somewhere in that scatter of light is everything else, the metal snow of Venus, the blue sunsets of Mars, the endless fall of Jupiter, the floating giant, the sideways world, the supersonic blue. And closer to the sun than all of it, too small to pick out from here without knowing exactly where to look, one pale blue dot. 8 worlds tried to kill you today, each in its own language: heat, acid, vacuum, pressure, poison, cold, and simple, bottomless depth. One world, in 4.5 billion years, has never once needed to try. The strangest planet in the solar system is the one that lets you open your visor. The Apollo 8 astronaut Bill Anders said it best: coming home from the moon, we came all this way to explore the moon, and the most important thing is that we discovered the Earth. If this journey changed the way you see the ground under your feet, stay close. The next fall goes somewhere stranger, and it is a lot nearer to home than you think.